About 1964, going down the street one day, I observed on the lawn in front of a little frame shop some paintings on an easel. So I stopped just to look because I was curious, and engaged in a conversation with the man running the business, and lo and behold, I really got taken by some work by an artist. It turned out to be Sterling Strauser, and I literally bought my first painting right there for a small amount of money, because I didn't make a lot of money. And that began what was going to become a long time friendship. I was a young Air Force officer in my 20s, and he was, of course, probably in his 60s, I guess, about that time. And thus began a friendship. And really a mentorship that lasted until his death and after, as I continued to see Dorothy until the time that she passed away. I kind of got the idea that what we really needed was some critical mass, and that we needed a place that had lots of Sterling's work, an institution that had lots of Sterling's work, that was interested in pursuing scholarship about his work, about his methodology, about all the great things he did in supporting other artists. And so I started talking to people about this idea, and I came to believe that what we needed to do was to find an institution that we get a foundation with a large number of works. And as I talked to people, one of the folks that I talked to had made an acquaintance with Andy Worthington, and Andy was kind of like a little puppy with a bone. He didn't want to let go of this idea in terms of bringing it to Stroudsburg. But I did go talk to a number of universities. I talked to a number of museums. Dr. Bob Metzger often went with me, and I was really looking for the best place to have what I called a center to focus, a center to study Sterling's work, a repository for his work. And again, as I said, Andy kept encouraging me to look at ESU, and I said, well, that's a little school up there, I know about it, but after looking at it hard, we found that it's really a nice big school, and we also found that a group of people, not only at the school but in the town, who were very responsive to the idea, who wanted to honor Sterling and Dorothy. And so it sort of drove the decision, as this is a place we wanted to make a major donation, to found this center of study. And so that's how we drove into ESU. They were very responsive, more responsive than anybody that we talked to. And we didn't want the works to be just stored. And that's one of the concerns we had about some of the museums. They would just end up in storage and maybe get out in an exhibit every few years. But we believe that ESU will pursue showing the works frequently, engage in various methods to get scholarship done, to have people look at the work and understand what Sterling was all about. The friendship and the fact that Sterling and I cared about each other. He cared about me as a young man and mentoring me in terms of the art world and guiding me, offering me suggestions, of course not criticizing when I made choices, but also showing me that there was a method. He, because I couldn't afford a lot of the work I wanted, we had a time payment plan arranged, and I actually wrote Sterling a check every month for over 30 years. It was just our way. I would come and look at work, look at not only his work, because he was very self-effacing. He didn't put his work forward. He put the work of people that he was sponsoring, people he was helping forward. But I was, of course, always driving back. Let's look at, what have you done lately? Or can I go to the ice house and look at some of the older work? and as I would choose things, and he would say, just take it, send me a check when you can. And I try to do the same thing often with young collectors today. And so I'm just grateful for the friendship and for the wisdom that he offered me in the art world. So that's why I wanted to honor him. I just think not only honor him as being a great artist, but honor him for all the things that he did for so many people. He helped so many people. And so I think that I'm grateful for that, and I think people ought to be honored for that kind of effort and that genuineness in their soul. He was a very soulful person. I won't say he's a religious person, but he was a very spiritual and soulful person. One of the things I learned is you don't really ever own a piece of art. You're the caretaker. So you have it for a period of time, and then it goes on. Papa Berluke used to like to say, works should be sold 7 times. It takes 7 times before they achieve their real value. But it's just like Sterling would let go of things, and he would reminisce about pieces that he had let go, and he remembered them fondly. I do. There's still lots of things that I either wasn't able to acquire, or that I subsequently sold that I've, in a sense, regretted. But it's really not a regret, because you know it's in a good home. You've put it in a good home, and that's the way that Linda and I look at this work. We're putting it in a good home. We're putting it in a place where a lot more people can enjoy it as well as we enjoy it. Now, when I came into the building yesterday, and even though the pieces haven't been gone since December, I guess they came up here, it was like visiting old friends. It was like, oh yeah, look at that. Oh, this is really wonderful. So, but I know that I was just the caretaker, and that they are now to be taken care of by some other people, and that they will get a much broader audience. A lot more people will enjoy it, and I hope they find the joy that I found in living with a lot of this work from day to day. And of course, we have to swap them around all the time because our home wouldn't hang this many, but we did enjoy doing that. And so it's like visiting old friends. Most people who collect art do take that sort of attitude. There are some who think it's a possession, it's something they own. I want it for me, but it's not about me. It's because the art is an entity itself. It's been created by someone else, so it will always still, like a painting of Sterling's, will always be Sterling's. You can't take that away from him. It's always his work, and so I just get to take care of it for a while. No matter which artist it is, it's always still theirs. Sterling used to say was that he wanted to get the artwork into good hands. He's talking about when he's helping, say, Justin McCarthy. He wanted to get it in good hands. He meant get it to collectors, get it in a good home, somebody that's going to care for it, or someone else is going to promote it and make it more important than it might be otherwise. And clearly he made a lot of artists that would never have gained any recognition. He got them in good hands. He got them recognized. And for that alone, he should receive great honors. But of course, I think his artwork is just outstanding. Obviously, I wouldn't have bought so many of his works over the years if I didn't think they were just top rate. He was certainly well known, but he was well known for his art. But the truth is that there were many people that particularly who knew him as a collector or knew him as a promoter of outsider artists, of self-taught artists. And I've actually talked to people who came to visit him to buy McCarthy, to buy Savitsky, to buy Ironside's Pride. And when I mentioned about having a lot of his work, they say, "What do you mean his work?" They paid no attention because he didn't put it forward. If they came to see him about Justin, he showed them Justin's work. He didn't say, "Oh, let me pull out some of mine," or "Let me pull out some of Dorothy's." He showed them Justin's work. Or he might mention, "Well, you should look at Savitsky," or "You should look at Gatto." But he didn't say, "Oh, you should look at Strauser." Very self-effacing. he really did not push himself. Now, I think he appreciated, certainly deep in his soul, he would appreciate when people recognized his work and what attention was brought to it. But he didn't do it. And I think that I think he would be very pleased if he'd walk in the building today. I think he would have been extraordinarily pleased if he had been able to come to the retrospective and seeing that people came from all over the country to see his work in retrospect at the Reading Museum. And I think he'd have been quite pleased about that. This painting is David Masheba, which I guess I bought it right after he painted it. It just struck me when I saw it, primarily by I thought it was not only beautiful, I thought it was a bit unusual. And of course, it's very much a modernist piece. And at first glance, I mean, people either like it or don't like it, but I instantly fell in love with the piece. And of course, I asked him, I said, this is a very unusual painting. And I said, and I did notice David, the face sitting up on top of the building, but some people don't even notice that there's a person up there. They just notice the nude, if you will, that's bathing. And but I did notice that, and I also drove in on what is a distortion in the form. And I asked him about that. I said, she's obviously, the upper body is very beautiful, is formed nicely, she's a beautiful lady, but the leg is coming straight forward. Is that for a perspective? Or he said, it's distortion for emphasis. He wanted to draw your attention to her legs and to her beauty. And I've heard him use that term various times, but Sterling had lots of little terms and things that he used to explain what you might call his quirks, the things that he wanted to do. But I found this to be a very moving piece. He didn't paint a lot of religious pictures, if you will, or pictures take, as some folks do. I mean, I show an artist that only paints nudes and religious subjects, kind of odd. But Sterling didn't paint a lot of religious pictures. I do have a wonderful, and I could not bear to part with it yet, the honeymoon's not over, a mother and child that is just unbelievable. But the David Masheba, I thought, was one of the more unbelievable pictures that he did. And I think he was taken with this story of David being so captivated by Bathsheba's beauty, and he tried, and that's where the whole emphasis is all about her beauty and her bathing before him, and he's hardly in the scene, but it's a very good interpretation of the story, I think.